Welcome everyone. This is our microeconomics project in which we have used simple real life example to help you understand economics. So let's start with opportunity cost.
So coming to the opportunity cost is the value of the next best alternative for corn. I can relate opportunity cost to the times when I gave JEE for the first time. I was able to get a CSE at IIT Jodhpur in my first JEE attempt. Then I was left with two choices. I could have gone with IIT Jodhpur, or I could have taken a drop for a year and prepare for a better rank. Now let's look at this situation with the perspective of opportunity cost. So the opportunity cost of joining IITJ is basically the perceived value of dropping for a year and preparing for a better college. So I have written this formula that would estimate the value of the opportunity cost for taking a drop. If I take a drop and secure a good rank so that I can get a better college than IIT Jodhpur, I could get a better salary. But in terms of the perceived value of that 1 year, I'm losing at that end. Hence, we need to subtract the perceived value of 1 year from this opportunity cost, as well as we have to subtract the tuition fee which we have to pay for the coaching of joint entrance examination, as well as there is some uncertainty in this situation in which it is not sure that I would get a better rank. It might be possible that even preparing for one more year, I might not be able to get a good rank. Hence, there is uncertainty. This factor is increasing the value of getting a drop, and these factors are decreasing it. So this is the rough estimate. For example, I got a better IIT, and the average salary of computer science there is 20 lakhs, and the perceived value of 1 year is 1 lakh, and the tuition fee which I would spend for preparing JEE examination would be 3 lakhs, and I have taken the estimate as the for uncertainty as 1 lakh. So the opportunity cost of joining IIT Jodhpur is 15 lakhs. On the other hand, opportunity cost of getting a drop is basically joining IIT Jodhpur. So in terms of joining IIT Jodhpur, I can get an early salary, as well as if I work in industry for 1 year, I could expect a growth of 5% in terms of both monetary and learning. So that's the estimate, and it comes out to be 16.8 lakhs. So in this scenario, we can see that joining IIT Jodhpur is better option than preparing for a better college. So these are the opportunity cost for both the scenarios, and in this situation, we found out that joining right now without taking a drop is a better option.
Division of labor is a kind of specialization, as our resources are scarce and we have to satisfy largest possible wants from the limited resources. We have to organize them by division of labor. Now, understanding it from an example, we can understand it from an example of doing project of economics, and in which we can do it in two ways. First, by doing it and in random sense without any specialization, and secondly by dividing the work among group members according to their specialization. And if we consider first case in which everyone is in the group is doing everything, like everyone is preparing slides and thinking examples, making graphs, writing reports, and adding creative aesthetic appealing elements to the slides, and we can say that an average time spent by someone will be about 5 hours, and multiplying it by number of hours, number of members, we can easily depict that 30 hours will be required for this project. But if we divide the work among each members, like the one who is specialized in doing something, like someone is specialized in preparing slides or making graphs or writing reports or adding good attractive elements to the slides, then we can depict some that the time spent in doing particular work is as follows: 3, 3, 2, 4, 2. And adding the number of hours, we can find that it is about 14 hours for the same project to do by division of labor rather than doing it without division of labor or randomly. It can also be shown by the graph that we are requiring less number of hours for the same work by division of labor. Like same effort is needed for the same work, and it is increasing our efficiency by dividing the work among group members according to their specialization rather than doing it discretely.
Another example of division of labor is cricket at General Championship in our IIT Jodhpur. As you may know, in cricket you need specialists in each department, whether it may be bowling, batting or wicket keeping. To win a game of cricket, you need to do well in each department, and for that you need division of labor, so that each person can do his part well. Law of demand. The law of demand states that if other factors are being held constant, then price and quantity demanded for any good or services are inversely related to each other. Now let us look at a real life example to understand the same. So in summer season, when I went to buy an air conditioner, the prices were really high and it was costing me around 35,000. So I decided not to buy it at that point of time. But when I went back again to the same shop to buy the same model, it was costing me around 25k in winters. After applying the law of demand concept, I figured out as the demand was high in summer season, the cost of AC was also high. But when it came to the winters, as the demand decreased, the price also decreased. Now let us look at the dynamic pricing concept. The left side graph shows that about a company that is following static pricing policy. As the price is fixed, the revenue is also constant. The right side graph shown is about a firm that is following dynamic pricing policy. At the peak time, the firm could charge a premium price because the demand is more price inelastic. And for quiet periods, the firm could offer a discount price to encourage a greater consumption. The best example of dynamic pricing is of airlines. Airlines never have just one fare. Initially, when the flight is empty, that is when not many people have booked their tickets, the prices are quite low. But when more and more people book their tickets, that is when demand is increasing, that is when people experience higher ticket fares. Also, it is said that airlines are monitoring your visit on to their ticketing portal. So therefore, if you are visiting their page frequently, then also you might experience higher ticket fares.
Let us talk about consumer psychology and behavioral economics now. Talking about consumer psychology refers to buying patterns of the consumers based on the brand value, marketing and packaging of the product. Taking the example of Apple MacBooks, we can see that with every new version being released, the prices are also increasing. And naturally, in the case of increasing prices, the demand should decrease. But because of strong brand value of Apple and its product, the demand for such prices does not decrease, and people are still very keen to buy these products. While in the case of some lesser known products like Avita laptops, we can see that the demand is very price elastic, and with an increase in price, the demand decreases. Talking about behavioral economics. Behavioral economics is the study of economics and psychology of the consumers. Taking an example of playing Ludo, if I get 6 multiple times, I'm very likely to assume that I've become a master of the game and I could get 6 whenever I want to get. But actually, it's just a matter of luck, and there is no such thing as mastery in getting a 6. And this phenomenon of thinking that you are able to control something which is actually just relying on luck is a phenomenon known as hot hand.
So, talking on the lines of paradox of Socrates, there is a paradox which exists in the mind of our students which are currently enrolled in minors in management. It is a fact that there has been quantity and quality enrollment in the minors. because students are interested and want to study management. Since the courses in this minor are really interesting and because of the quality of teaching, students are able to understand all the concepts in class. Hence, they are more inclined to study harder than they did before and also to get good grades. However, since the grading policy is relative, the grades would be on similar lines as they were before, despite the hard work. Thus, there exists this paradox of if I work hard, then I will get good grades. This condition alone is not sufficient, and it is similar to what we saw in the farmer's paradox.
Now coming to law of diminishing marginal utility. Marginal utility is basically the satisfaction which we gain through the consumption of one additional unit of a good or service. Law of diminishing marginal utility states that as a consumer start consuming more units of that particular commodity, then with successive consumption the utility that he derives from those units keeps on decreasing. I can relate a diminishing marginal utility with the restaurant visits that I had in my 3 years at IIT Jodhpur. So this graph basically shows the number of times I had visited a particular restaurant in these 3 years. So the dark blue line here is the Vedas and the light blue line is for Rasaraj. These two are the restaurant in Jodhpur. So in my first year I found a good restaurant which is Rasaraj and I visited that restaurant 15 times. But as I keep on visiting the same restaurant again and again, the second year the satisfaction level which I was driving through Rasaraj was not enough. That is why I started visiting another restaurant. So the utility at second year was lesser than the first year, and because I was not visiting Rasaraj, so I resorted to another restaurant which is Vedas. But as we can see, the number of times I visited Vedas in the third year, it also kept decreasing, and Rasaraj eventually went to 0. And this cycle keeps on repeating because as more we consume of a single unit, then the marginal utility for that particular consumption keeps on decreasing.
Now let us move on to substitute and complements. Before we move on to substitutes, let us first understand what are substitute goods. Substitute goods or services are those goods that may be used in place of one another for satisfaction of a particular want. To relate it to a real-life example, let us consider Jio and all the other existing telecom brands. The law says that when two goods are a pair of substitute goods, the price of one good is directly proportional to the demand of other goods. That is, in other words, we can say that if price of one good is increased, the demand of other good will also increase. To relate it to a real life example, we all know that when Jio came into the market, it behaved as a substitute to all the existing telecom brands. But the price at which Jio was launched was comparatively lower than all the existing brands. So as a result, what happened was, since the price of Jio was comparatively lower, the demand of all the other telecom companies also decreased, and this validates the law. So moving on, let us first understand what are complementary goods. The pair of goods that are consumed together are called as complementary goods. That is, without the existence of both the goods, a single good does not hold any value. To relate it to a real life example, let us consider the recently launched iPhone 12. And since we all know that the box of iPhone 12 does not come with a charger, and we know that charger is an important entity to charge the phone. So the phone in itself without a charger has no value. So a customer will have to get a phone separately, and complement to it should also get the charger of the phone. The law says that when two goods are complementary, the price of one good is inversely proportional to the demand of other good. That is, in other words, we can say that if the price of iPhone 12 is increased, the demand of iPhone 12 will decrease, and as a result, the demand of chargers will also decrease. To summarize it, we may say that if the price of one good increases, then the demand of other good decreases. That is, the price of one good is inversely proportional to the demand of other good.
Now coming to income effect. The income effect says that as the income of the consumer rises, the demand for normal good also rises, as well as the demand of inferior goods decreases. That is because of the fact that with increase in the income, the purchasing power of a consumer increases. This can be related to the time when I had the summer internship and I was paid a handful of stipend. And using that stipend, I was able to spend more on my necessities and wants. Rather than buying a samosa from the nearby shop, I was able to go to McDonald's and eat whatever I want. As well as for the normal goods, I was able to purchase more of their quantity.
So, regarding economics of addiction, it is important to understand the fact that many rules of economics which we have studied up till now do not apply to addictive substances like tobacco, alcohol, reefer, etc. Considering a personal example, the father of one of my friends is an alcoholic. He used to drink a lot of alcohol and was abusive also. My friend used to be very worried and afraid all the time. So when the tax on alcohol was increased tremendously, he thought that his father would stop drinking and then things would get better. However, the father continued drinking the same amount of alcohol and was even more abusive than before. This shows that the general rules of economics like the law of demand and even the law of diminishing marginal utility, they don't apply to addictive goods.
Let us have a look at the law of diminishing returns. The law of diminishing returns states that with increase in input in one input keeping other inputs constant, the total product would increase with every increase in the product, but the change or the rate of increase of product will decrease. So we can understand this by an example of study. So if I am able to read 20 pages in an hour and 35 pages in 2 hours, I can see that although the total product, that is the number of pages I've read in 2 hours, is more than what I could read in 1 hour, but the marginal product, that is the number of pages read in the second hour, is less than the marginal product in the first hour. That is, in the second hour I'm only able to read 15 pages, while in the first hour I was able to read 20 pages.
Let us move on to least cost rule. The least cost rule states that the costs are minimized when the marginal product per currency's worth of each resource used is the same. That is, in terms of formula, one marginal product of a resource divided by price of that resource is same for all the resources. To understand it using a real life example, since we all know that studying multiple subjects per day can be extremely beneficial for information retention, spacing, interleaving and managing our cognitive load will help us learn better than just cramming up. That is, in easy words, if I have 3 chapters to cover of physics, chemistry and maths each, if I try to do it in a single stretch, I will have to sit 4 hours to complete a chapter, because reading the same subject courses one after the another will decrease my returns in terms of the utility. Hence, for me, a much better option is to decide and read just one chapter of each subject each day.
So, talking about perfect competition, I would like to take up the example of the textile industry business in my city, as according to me it is an example of a perfect competitive market. One of my close relatives owns a shop in the market and I have been there many times. I have seen that the seller has no say in the price of the product. Everybody is selling the same quality and there is no differentiation when we look inside the quality. Every day we see people renting new shops and some people also selling off their stuff to pursue something else. All these facts are indicative of a perfect competition or something that is very close to it.
Now, talking about monopoly kind of market, monopoly is a kind of market in which we have only one seller, single seller, and there is no competition among sellers, as there is only single seller, and there is no close substitute of goods which are sold by the sellers. So the seller enjoys power of setting price of the goods, and he enjoys monopoly over the market. So let us understand from an example of Thar versus canteen of IIT, which was previously the only canteen set up in the IIT Gurgaon, and we have to we have no option other than Thar versus to go and to eat some food whenever we are hungry. No matter what is the quality of food they offer, whether we like it much or not, we don't have other options. So we have to go with the Thar versus only, and we have to pay whatever the price is that was decided by the Thar versus owner. So it was only owner's choice what they are providing or what price they want to charge from us, and the owner enjoys good profits in the monopolist kind of setup, and we can see some happy faces in the picture also. So it was all about economics project presentation. Thank you.